Hello and welcome. Mumbai continues to lead the national tally with number of cases of coronavirus being tested positive. The number is now crossing 15,000, which is obviously worrying. But on the other hand, we are as a country going to lift the lockdown now. That might also result in a surge of cases, as most of us know. So the question could be, how prepared are we? So even as we talk about that in a moment, but let's try and understand where we stand today on the front lines when in hospitals, from the vantage point of doctors who are treating patients, both serious and otherwise. And a new worry in some sense is pediatrics. Are children also likely to face some version of the coronavirus, as we are seeing some early trends in cities like New York? To answer these questions, I'm joined by two doctors, Dr. Tanu Singhal, consultant pediatrics and infectious diseases at the Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital, and I'm also joined by Dr. Vaishali Lokhande, consultant internal medicine at Apollo Hospital in Navi Mumbai. Both are in Mumbai. Thank you both for joining us. Dr. Singhal, let me begin with you. The broad trends that you're seeing, particularly now that we are almost 2 months into the onset, and what are the changes that you've seen or the progression that you've seen, particularly in the last few weeks?
Well, we have definitely seen more number of people getting infected now. And, as a percentage of all the tests which we would do, because we are doing tests in-house for the past 2 months now, we are getting many more positives. And many of these are patients who have come with COVID-like symptoms. And there are many who have been admitted to the hospital for some other different reason and are screened and found to be positive. We are also seeing many more healthcare workers getting infected. So obviously the numbers are going up.
So you're saying that people who have, been tested for something else or were not likely to be this first round of suspects are testing positive. So this means that obviously there are far more people carrying this disease than we think they are.
And we must also understand that right now we are doing a test, which picks up the viral RNA in the throat. So we don't know this infection which we are detecting by the throat swab in people who don't have symptoms for COVID. Did they have COVID and are now recovering, or are they going to get symptoms over the next few days? We don't know, because we also know that once somebody has got COVID, the swab can remain positive for a long time. So that is the other dilemma that we have, that we test these people, and the main reason for testing them is for infection control purposes, so that they don't get isolated from the rest of the people in the hospital and they don't into the COVID unit. So that's the reason for testing them. But then, you come to know that they have come, let's say, for a fracture or for a myocardial infarction or some other disease, and they're just positive in the throat. So it means that there are many more people than, what we are reporting. Of course,
right.
These
so,
people
yeah, and the kind of cases that you've been seeing that have been presented to you in the last 30 days, or specifically 4 weeks, is it only the number that's rising, or what's changing in the way you're in your assessment of these patients or in their diagnosis?
We are not seeing too many severely ill patients. So we always had 2 to 3 people getting admitted to our unit every week with severe illness, and that is the rate which we are seeing even now. Now, whether this is because our unit is full and we can't take more sick people or something, but that is something which we've not seen. And I would like Dr. Vaishali to comment on this, about her thoughts. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Vaishali.
So thing is, I'm dealing with cases. I'm working in a non-COVID center, so we run a flu OPD there on a regular basis manned by physicians and test physicians, and we are seeing a lot of cases who come with symptoms which are not really typical COVID, except for the fever, and they do turn out to be positive. People who claim to have no travel or contact history and come out positive. People who have never stepped out of their houses and come positive. So what I'm seeing is either they are really not able to elicit the history, recall the history, and the numbers are really going up. I am seeing a lot of cases come for some other reason, like say somebody who's a cancer patient come for a chemotherapy, and the test is done before the admission and turns out to be positive. The whole unit gets quarantined. The doctor's seeing the patient. So what I'm seeing is people with very vague symptoms and positive. So the numbers are going up, and if I can say, since we are not a COVID center typical, when we admit a patient of fever, the moment the test comes positive, we're supposed to transfer them. So rarely there has been a case of a very severely ill acute respiratory illness who would fulfill the criteria for typical severely ill COVID. We are not really dealing with those. But
and what are those symptoms that you're seeing, which are you're saying vague or different symptoms?
Yeah. So the other day I had a staff getting his mother for some vague symptom, and because since we have a dedicated flu area, the patient is kind of triaged into a particular flu OPD area. She came with a very vague fever and just some discomfort in the throat few days back. Fever also very low grade, and we did a throat test, it came positive. Of course, now our son is going to undergo the test. The point is that these are people who would not really expect them to be positive, because their exposure, as we are talking about community spread, exposure to a suspect of COVID or a confirmed COVID is very less possible or less. So it's surprising. There are patients who come with plain fever and typical just viral fever, no respiratory symptoms like sore throat, cough, cold, vomiting, purely fever and myalgias, and then they come out positive. So yeah, the spectrum of the disease is not the one that is learnt in the literature, but we are seeing.
So and therefore it also means that in a frightening way, or maybe not so frightening way, that a much larger percentage of people are walking around with it in Mumbai, and obviously must be in other places too.
Actually, that's the worry. Now, so the dictum would be, now I don't know whether I can say that here, but everybody is COVID until proved otherwise if they're walking to the hospital for whatever reasons, because it's not just the person getting affected, he might not suffer, but the vulnerable population in the community around him, his family members might have a bad time. They might end up in the ventilator or on the ICU and may not make it. So it's not just the people who are symptomatic. The asymptomatic spreaders are a major worry, I feel.
Right. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. Dr. Sehgal, let me ask you about children. Any cases that you're seeing that have caused you worry?
Not yet. So, if you look at it, we have now experience of about 4 months all over the world. And it has been said that children are generally, that's the only silver lining to this epidemic, that children don't fall sick. I mean, even if they get infected, they usually have mild symptoms or they are asymptomatic. And that really holds true if you look at it worldwide. And that is also what is our experience, that, children they're not sick people, children coming with COVID. The only thing is that, you have, again, as what was said earlier, like we had the other day a girl who came with diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a medical emergency in a child who's 14 years old. Now, as per protocol, we kind of tested her for COVID because she's going to be in the ICU and she was COVID positive. So again, her disease is not explained by COVID. She's just carrying it in her throat. So luckily she did well. So that is the other thing, that, these people who come with these kind of symptoms, how much COVID is contributing to their illness, we don't know. And we also know that if a person had a week back, if he had a little bit of fever and sore throat and recovered, and now you do a test for that person, it may still be positive for a long time to come. So that's also there.
Right, but could you dwell a little on this particular patient? So what could, in your assessment, what could have been the cause, or what could have been the problem beyond, the core assessment that you've done?
So it could just be that, she must have been exposed to somebody who had COVID and she got infected. But her disease was not due to COVID, because she behaved like a diabetic ketoacidosis. We gave her insulin and all, and she recovered. So if COVID was causing the problem, she would have had a much more stormy course, with other problems, which didn't happen. So, so that's what I'm saying, that you could be, if you start testing people, left, right and center, you'll pick up many more kind of people who are infected asymptomatically.
Right. And, there is obviously some discussion around newer kinds of symptoms, or symptoms that obviously did not exist at all, and particularly in children. Are you looking out for that? Is that an area of concern?
Yes, because recently, not described from China, but from Europe and especially London and USA, there have been reports of this multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which is called, when children come with very high fever, low blood pressure, their heart's not functioning well, mimicking something which is called as Kawasaki disease, which is, a disease which we commonly see in children, for which we don't know the cause of. So these kind of cases, and they have bad outcomes, are being reported. But from India, as of now, I know that there are two such patients who've been seen with such a similar presentation. One in Tamil Nadu and one in Kerala, but not in Mumbai so far. I mean, it hasn't come to my notice.
And was this recently in the last couple of weeks?
Yes. Yes, because we know that, because I'm a editor for a pediatric journal, and the person who saw this case reported it to us. And there's another patient admitted in Apollo Chennai who had a similar kind of presentation. So that's how we know about it. But it's not that it's happening left, right, and center. Yeah, but this is coming across.
But no, but it is unusual that you have children with the symptoms of the Kawasaki disease, as you mentioned. And do you know what the condition or how are the children recovering, or how are they doing?
I know for sure that one child has recovered. I don't know about the other one, but I'll check. But at least this one child which was reported to the journal recovered.
As the lockdown lifts, how do you? What do we do? How do we stay better prepared? And what is your task going to be like? And how will you be better prepared to handle the surge?
So first of all, I would say that we're already seeing a surge, despite the lockdown in place. And one of the reason is because this is not like a complete shutdown. And the other problem, which I think is different in Mumbai, is that people stay in very small houses. Okay, so lots of people staying, and that's what we've been seeing too, that we're seeing a lot of infections happening in people who are staying close together. So even if, let's say, there is one person who's going out for whatever reason, let's say to buy groceries or whatever, and comes back home, there's a very good chance that that person is transmitting infection to the family members. And that may be one of the reasons why, despite the lockdown, you have so many more cases in Mumbai or densely congested metropolis. So I think the numbers are just going to kind of go on increasing as time goes by, till I think a substantial amount of population is infected, and then the cases start falling. However, it is also possible that maybe weather may have a role to play, and because everything about this epidemic is unpredictable. Nobody even knows what's going to happen in the next week. All predictions go way off course. So really you don't know, but obviously I think numbers will go up. But, I just want to say that as far as we are not seeing very many severe cases, that's a good thing, because you would say that we are having a 3% case fatality rate all across India, which is similar to what is being reported in other countries. But I feel our denominator is less. There are many more people who are infected, which we are not picking up. So if your denominator goes more, than your case fatality goes down. So I think what should now happen, and some of the things have happened nicely, that the government has given a new discharge policy wherein patients can go out of hospitals faster. You don't need to do the nasal swabs to document negativity. So I think now the focus should be on building bed capacity so that sick people are taken care of well. And the second thing which I would say is that, we should also pay attention to the non-COVID patients. Because what is happening now is there's a lot of collateral damage happening because of COVID. People sick with other illnesses come to hospitals, and, they can't get admitted because, there's this fear everywhere. Many nursing homes are closed. And, suppose some of these patients come with illnesses which are non-COVID but are sampled, and they find that they are COVID in the throat, then their surgeries get postponed, their chemotherapy gets postponed, dialysis is difficult. So somewhere people will have to balance out, COVID, and also pay attention to the non-COVID illnesses.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I've been talking to epidemiologists who've been warning about exactly this, that there will be a surge of non-COVID cases, for instance, in tuberculosis, once we start opening up. And I don't know if we have Dr. Lokhande, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back there.
Okay, great. Yeah. So my question was, how are you seeing the next few weeks and maybe a month, because it's tough to think beyond that, and how will you be gearing up, and how should we be gearing up?
Actually, I'm expecting the things to just get worse from now. Once the lockdown is lifted, community mingling will happen. And despite all these lockdown measures, we have touched 70,000 already in India. So it's going to get worse, I feel, especially crowded cities like Mumbai. I don't think there's much we can do, because we cannot just function like this forever. the rules will change. But I'm dreading July and August because Navi Mumbai is a hotbed for dengue also. We'll see a lot of dengues and malarias and respiratory illnesses, non-COVID ones. We'll see pneumonias coming after that, and the hospitals will be really overwhelming. So the work will be really overwhelming. The thing is that, as Dr. Singhal said, I think the mild cases, if they could be managed at home, but the person who's been advised to stay at home should really be sensible enough to follow the advice and not move out in the community. I don't think that's happening. People have been tested and they're moving out in the community, and then probably by the time the reports come positive, they already have mingled with 15, 20 other people, and it's difficult to even contact tracing. I'm sure that's what the authorities are facing. So as the resources are going to be short, we are creating 2,000, 5,000 bedded units in BKC and Worli Dome, NSCI. They might get overflow. I mean, they might really get full in some time, I feel. So mild cases, yes, the mild ones should be kept at home, but of course, that's the government's call. That is something that
and this is what many other countries are doing as well. So only come to the hospital if the symptoms get severe. Last word, Dr. Singhal. So any specific advice to patients or citizens of this city or country, for that matter, on what they should be doing in the post-lockdown phase?
So my first advice would be to not go out of the house unless it is really essential. And the elderly people should definitely stay at home. The ones who have comorbidities should continue to stay at home. The people who have to go out have to, wear masks. They have to use hand hygiene. They have to try and see how they can, do all their work effectively. And once they come home, they have to follow social distancing, try and, be away. And the moment they get these symptoms, they need to actually separate themselves. And that is easier said than done because, again, as I said, most people in Mumbai live in very small houses. Right. So, and that is also the problem, which we are facing about mild symptoms being treated at home, because the person says that I am living in a one-room house with 5 other people. If I'm going to stay at home, what will happen to this? So, we'll also have to take care of that here. So, and as far as, children are concerned, because I'm a pediatrician, I would say that, if your vaccines are pending up to the age of 9 months, the primary vaccines, they should be taken. They shouldn't be postponed, but all other non-essential things, try and avoid taking the children out. And I definitely don't think this is time for schools, etc., to open. So anything, because online and all can be done. So even if children go to school 3 to 4 months late, it's okay. So all these things.
So that's your comfort period is. I mean, comfort the outline is roughly 3 to 4 months.
Yes, I would say. Because, and as Dr. Lokhande said, we don't know what will happen in the monsoon, because it's not that other illnesses will stop. Then we'll have to deal with the other surge of dengue, malaria, leptospira, flu, etc. as well. So it is a double whammy.
Right. We've run out of time. You've got a very, very tough task ahead and some very difficult days. I wish you and your teams all the very best. And thank you very much for joining me today, Doctors Lokhande and Dr. Singhal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking. Bye.